In the near future, humanity has made leaps and bounds in cybernetic modifications. The world-leading business, Hanka Robotics Corporation, is pioneering a new type of cyborg that requires a human mind to be implanted into its robotic body, which will possess superior strength and agility. This revolutionary transformation is being tested on Mira Killian, Scarlett Johansson, after an unfortunate incident. After her successful operation performed by Dr. Ouelet, Juliette Binoche, she meets with Cutter, who leads Hanka Robotics Corporation, Peter Ferdinando. These pioneers are revolutionizing technology. Cutter wants to assign Mira to Section 9, which deals with counterterrorism, but Ouelet believes Mira isn't ready for that. 1 year later, Mira became famous as the Major. From the roof of a building where Chris Obi was observing an African ambassador and Hanka representative Dr. Osmond in dialogue, she partnered with Batou, played by Pailu Absek, Ladria, and Section 9 Chief Daisuke Aramaki, Takeshi Kitano, to execute orders sent from Danusia Samuel's character. But when multiple Geisha-bots started attacking all attendees at the conference without warning, the Major deviated from her boss's instructions and engaged into direct combat against them right away, turning invisible first before leaping off the rooftop. Before the Major arrives, one of the Geisha-bots slashes Dr. Osmond's neck and ends his life. Cooperate with Hanka Robotics or be annihilated, the Geisha robot commands. She receives a headshot from the Major. Aramaki summons the Section 9 crew for a discussion about the assault, and they discover that someone hacked into the Geisha-bots with an unrecognized source. After everyone else leaves, Aramaki remains to address the Major's choice to enter the chamber. He reminds her of having Ghost in her cyborg shell. Besides frequenting Dr. Ouelet to have repairs made when damage appears on her body, the Major also takes it upon herself to sustain its condition in order to stay operational during missions. The Major can only recall fleeting flashes and snippets of her past. Although Ouelet dismisses her delusions as malfunctions, it is clear that she cares about the Major. Seated in the car, Batou and the Major tour around town. As they drive, the Major discloses scarce recollections from her past, that her family was killed while trying to reach a foreign land. While on the journey, she visualizes an image of a blazing hut. Later, they come across Dr. Dalin, Anna Maria Marinka, with a Geisha-bot body whom the Major wants to interrogate regarding the hacker's identity. She decides to delve deep into the eye of this robot for further discoveries about the criminal mastermind behind it all. The Major is seen by distorted images as she moves through a club. The entity reaches out and grabs her, requiring Batou to remove her from the connection. The Major claims to be aware of the whereabouts of the hacker. With the mission to find a mysterious hacker, the Major and Batou infiltrate a Yakuza nightclub. Unfortunately, they are captured by two men who shackle the Major to a pole with cattle prod threats and force her into dancing against her will. To make matters worse, their communication is blocked inside the room, so she can't inform him of what's happening. However, when push comes to shove, literally, the Major kicks one of them out before engaging in an intense shootout, which Batou also participates in. In order for them to start on the search for the hacker that brought upon this chaotic situation, both had no other choice but slaughtering several thugs along the way. They make a beeline for a room that is actually a trap. The Major's body is damaged by the explosion and Batou is rendered blind. As the Major's physical wounds are cured, Batou obtains cybernetic eyes to substitute for his injured ones. Cutter corners Aramaki in response to the deep dive the Major undertook. As he is answerable only to the Prime Minister, he cautions Cutter about whom they're endangering. Later on, a hacker, Michael Pitt, finds Dardalin and removes her eyes before executing her. Eventually, the Major takes hold of an external drive from Dalin's hand that holds details concerning other Hanka workers, including Ouelet. It is then when Section 9 personnel unearth her body. They believe she will be the hacker's next victim. Ouelet is confronted with an immense challenge when it comes to the Major's admission. Preceding the Major becoming a successful experiment, Ouelet had experienced 98 failed attempts. As she tried to explain her point of view, the Major seemed discontented and resentful. Cutter ordered Ouelet to terminate the Major as she was considered a risk factor. Instead, Ouelet gave her an address so that she can research on her own while going through the process. In retaliation for Ouelet's allowing the Major to flee, Cutter shoots and kills Ouelet. The Major killed Ouelet. Cutter informs Aramaki, and she must be put to death. Upon arriving at the address, the Major was horrified to discover it was her former home. Kaori Momoi, her mother, is present and assumes that her daughter fled and perished in the process. Suddenly recognizing familiar features in the Major's face, she realizes Motoko Kuzenagi is who he truly is. After obtaining confirmation from Aramaki that Ouelet has died, yet Cutter claims otherwise, they devise their next plan of action while Cutter eavesdrops on them unknowingly. The members of Section 9 are targeted by Cutter's men, but Batou, Togusa, and Aramaki all escape and end the life of their assailants. The Major and Q's meet at a covert location that mimics the burning cottage. They discover that Q's real name was Hideo, and they recall that they had initially opposed human and cyborg augmentations. Cutter dispatches a spider tank to eliminate Q's and the Major, but in their attempt to avoid certain death, the Major attempts to destroy the machine while atop its back. Despite her incredible strength, she is unable to overpower it completely, and tears off her own arm trying. Refusing Cutter's offer of combining his ghost with hers, Q's departs this life as he is killed by a sharpshooter sent by Cutter on board a helicopter. To save the Major from further peril, Aramaki sends Sato, Yutaka Izunhara, who successfully takes down the sniper before any more damage can be done. The Major, who is still alive, is recovered by Batou. After speaking to the Prime Minister, Aramaki confronts Cutter. Cutter is accused of killing Ouelet and other crimes against the state. Aramaki gains permission to kill Cutter from the Major by speaking with her. As Cutter tumbles into his own pool, he shoots him 3 times. The Major visits her mother's grave, conveying to her that she still resides there. As the Major reflects in a voiceover, it occurs to her that while others may have similar enhancements as hers, they do not define who she is. She returns back to Section 9 and carries out an impressive building leap before heading on with her next mission. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification for more movie recaps.